Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, Executive Director of the American Constitutional Rights Union and also the ACRU Action Fund. You know, this is really just incredible to be able to speak to you about so many issues that we have facing our country. And when I think about the most important thing that the founding fathers left for us to make sure that we could be a free people, to live free, it's the Second Amendment. And when you fathom how we got to the Second Amendment, everything about our Constitution, our rule of law, it emanates from what happened, what was written in their experiences and the grievances that they listed in the Declaration of Independence. But most importantly, on that day of April the 19th of 1775, I want you to understand something. The British were marching inland. Remember, Paul Revere, one if by land, two if by sea, the British are coming, the British are coming. Well, guess what they were coming to do? They were coming to destroy a weapons and armaments factory that was located in Concord, Massachusetts, a weapons and armaments factory that was supplying the Sons of Liberty in their fight there in Massachusetts against the tyranny of the British. And our founding fathers knew in that moment that if they were armed, they could fight to be citizens. They could fight for their freedoms, fight for their liberties, fight for their rights, fight for their life, liberty, and their property. John Locke, two treatises of government, natural rights theory. But if they were disarmed, they would be subjects. And that was the goal, that was the intent of the British. Now, on that day of April the 19th of 1775, just remember, there was no America. There was no army. The army came later on June the 14th of 1775. There was no Navy. The Navy came later on October of 1775. There was no Marine Corps. The Marine Corps came later on November the 10th of 1775. So what was there? Us, the militia. And that's why the words of the Second Amendment, a well-regulated, not means ATF, okay, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Well-regulated in the language of the founding fathers meant well-trained, well-disciplined, well-drilled. A well-regulated militia, us. Because those were the people that came out of their taverns, came out of their homes, met the British at Lexington Green, and then at Concord Bridge. We came to call them the Minutemen because they were ready in a minute, because they were well-regulated, well-trained, well-disciplined, well-drilled, being necessary for the security of a free state. So in other words, what the founding fathers understood was that there was no standing army. There was no standing Navy, no standing Marine Corps. It was about the well-regulated militia, us, were necessary for the security of a free state, the nation that was yet to be born. But you had to have those individuals. Therefore, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Pretty simple language, shall not be. Don't do it. You can't touch it. I think it was MC Hammer, Joe said, can't touch this. That's what we should play. Right. When we think about the Second Amendment, we should play MC Hammer, can't touch this. Every time Joe Biden or Kamala Harris stands up and start talking about gun control, we should play MC Hammer, can't touch this.
I'll look for it. I'll find it.
Maybe they will get an idea, okay? Because I think that sarcasm works very well.
Yes, sir.
With these folks. But the founding fathers understood that. But yet here we are today in the United States of America. And if you have not been made aware of this story, this should disturb you about what the country of Mexico is a foreign nation is seeking to do here in the United States of America. Joe, roll the tape.
Many arrested had additional serious criminal convictions, including burglary, arson, assault, kidnapping, extortion, sexual assault, and forgery.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement describing what's becoming an alarming export from Mexico. That is, migrants who commit crimes here in the United States as they did in their country of origin. On the flip side, Mexico is now seeking billions of dollars of relief in our courts for an American export they claim has destabilized their nation. We're talking guns, firearms that lawyers for the Mexican government claim are too easily obtained from American dealers and manufacturers, giving criminal cartels equal or superior firepower than the police and military opposing them.
Yes. The unconscionable, the unthinkable. A foreign nation, all of these years later, 249 some odd years later, is still trying to destroy the weapons manufacturing industry in the United States of America. Now, Mexico, who President Obrador, if you did not see that 60 Minutes clip where he was interviewed, he said that we're going to continue to allow people to come through our country and enter into the United States of America unless they turn over, $25 billion. I think that's what he quoted. So in other words, he's extorting the United States of America. He's going to continue to send these individuals. Criminal elements are part of this. Terrorist elements are part of this. We're not suing Mexico because, they're allowing these people to come across, which really we should be going after the Biden administration because it's treason is what they're doing. They're violating the Constitution, Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, the guarantee clause. They're supposed to guarantee to every state in the union protection from invasion. They're not doing that. But now we have Mexico, who is a signatory to the United Nations Small Arms Treaty, is bringing a lawsuit in the United States of America against American gun manufacturers, saying that we're the reasons why the cartels are kicking our butt. Transnational narco-criminal terrorist organizations. Well, look, I can't help it that Mexico is a failed state. I can't help it that all of a sudden you get a president in Obrador that does not want to fight against these cartels and has allowed such corruption in their government. But I know one thing is that we should be fighting the cartels who are seeking to destabilize our country by way of drug trafficking, fentanyl being the number one killer of Americans, I believe, from 18 to 45, the human and sex trafficking that we see, the allowing of terrorist trafficking. But no, the Mexican president and the Mexican government is suing the United States of America. Remember Operation Fast and Furious?
Sure do.
This is a continuation of the Obama administration. That's what this is. This is the third Obama administration. But, Operation Fast and Furious, guess what, Eric Holder and Barack Obama were doing? They were flooding guns into Mexico. To try to say that, oops, it's the gun manufacturer's fault, the violence that we see in Mexico. So we need to shut down gun manufacturers. And if you remember, a United States Border Patrol agent by the name of Brian Terry lost his life because of Operation Fast and Furious. What happened to Eric Holder? What happened to Barack Obama? See, when you don't nip this stuff in the bud, now it goes to the next level. And so now we are allowing, Joe, the president of Mexico to sue our gun manufacturers because he can't get the Mexican cartels under control. But yet, we just had someone that transited through his country that killed an American co-ed by the name of Laken Riley at the University of Georgia. Perhaps Laken Riley's family should sue President Obrador in Mexico. I mean, seems logical to me. What do you say, Joe?
Yeah, I like that idea. And if I can remember, wasn't there a contempt of Congress against Eric Holder?
I was there. I voted for it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, what happened?
Right. Oh, nothing.
Yeah. Wasn't there a contempt of Congress, an impeachment that was brought against Alejandro Mayorkas, who was before, and it gets over to the Senate, where Chuck Schumer said, we just dismiss it. Just throw it into the trash.
Yeah, okay.
See, this is what these people are doing. Now, this is what should really upset you, those watching this episode of Live Free TV, brought to you by the American Constitutional Rights Union. The Biden administration has signed on to support Mexico in bringing a lawsuit against American gun manufacturers. The First Circuit Court, let me make sure I got this right. The First Circuit Courts of Appeals consented that this lawsuit can proceed. Now, where is the First Circuit Court of Appeals that consented to this lawsuit being able to proceed? It's based in Boston, Massachusetts. So in 249 years, we've gone from Boston, Massachusetts, Remember Breeds Hill, Bunker Hill, all those things, the Sons of Liberty. We've gone from those men who stood their ground, Lexington Green and Concord. And I've been to both of those places there in Massachusetts. Now we've got this activist court, the First Circuit Court of Appeals out of Boston, Massachusetts, that is saying to a foreign nation it's okay to destroy our weapons and armaments factory. In other words, they are aligning themselves with the new British. How do we get to this point? I mean, I remember, let's see, the shooting in San Bernardino, California. Tashfeen Malik and Saeed, I forget his last name, but they shot up the Christmas holiday party out in San Bernardino. First of all, the female who was from Pakistan should not have been granted entry. And then these individuals, somehow they were able to get weapons through a straw buyer. And even the people in the neighborhood knew that something was wrong. Things were going on in the middle of the night, but guess what? They were too afraid to say anything. So they went in and committed this mass terrorist attack against people that were just celebrating a Christmas party. Should we have not brought a lawsuit against Pakistan for having one of their nationals that came into our country, pretty much so illegally, and gunned down Americans? I mean, I don't understand how we are allowing a foreign nation to sue a weapons manufacturer. Let's put it this way, Joe. I bet that the Ford F-150 is pretty popular down in Mexico.
Yeah.
Now, if the Ford F-150, some people got into a truck accident, several truck, and lost their lives, is the government of Mexico going to sue the Ford motor industry because people got into an accident in their vehicle? No. So why is it that we're allowing a foreign nation to sue manufacturers here in the United States? Oh, dang it, Joe. I forgot. Because they're manufacturing guns. They're manufacturing that thing that the left does not want us to have. They want us to go back to being subjects. They want Antifa to be able to run rampant throughout our neighborhoods or whomever. They want us to have to worry and be afraid of the East German Stasi police pre-dawn raids like we see happening.
Somebody in Mexico wants those guns. Somebody's buying them,
Yeah. And again, is not the gun manufacturer. It's just the same as, okay, so let's go out and sue all the liquor distributors when someone goes out and has a DUI and gets into an accident. It's the liquor's fault. No, it's the car's fault. Let's go after those manufacturers. No, but it's just that thing called a weapon that the left doesn't like. And now they have found a way, the Biden administration has found a way to link arms with a foreign nation to infringe upon that which is not supposed to be infringed upon. Remember, MC Hammer, can't touch this. But now we're going to let the president of Mexico touch this. The Mexican government touch this. The country of Mexico touch this. So that one day, maybe they think that we will bankrupt American weapon manufacturers so that we won't be able to defend ourselves. They'll just corner the market on ammunition, and there you got it. Or what you see happening in America right now, they are taxing per bullet, which is insane. But again, I want you to think about this, that we have people, and listen to this quote from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. Now, I know, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. That's oxymoronic.
Yeah.
They put out this following statement. This case exemplifies the illicit nature of a firearm transfer in circumstances in which the weapons could be used to commit human rights violations. All of a sudden, the United Nations is worried about human rights violations, which fits into the broader trend of engaging in the concept of simplicity and developing legal standards for corporate accountability. How about individual accountability? How about understanding that we should not have transnational narco criminal terrorists? How about holding them accountable? That's who you should be going after. Hey, Mexico, if you think you're being outgunned, why don't you ask our gun manufacturers to sell you better weapons? I don't think that any gun manufacturer in the United States of America is saying, let me see if I can get a contract with the cartel. Let me sell some arms to the cartel. But when you have an administration that has completely lost control of the border, guess what you get? I mean, recently we just, heard about a high-speed chase down in Texas, where the guy took his truck and drove it into the Rio Grande River, jumped out and swam back to Mexico. Should we sue the truck manufacturer because the guy was evading law enforcement in their truck that they produced, they manufactured? I mean, we're going to take the stretch and say that they are aiding and abetting terrorist activity, drug cartel activity? No. It's just about the gun. How about we do this, Biden administration? How about we do this, Governor of Texas, all these border governors? How about we crack down on the cartels? They're operating freely on this side of the border. We know who they are. Most people know their houses. You go down to McAllen, Texas, people would tell you, yeah, that's a cartel member's house. Up here in Dallas County, where I live, people know that the cartels are operating freely. Why? Because we see the face of human trafficking. Dallas itself, the city of Dallas, is the number 2 city in the United States of America for sex trafficking. Number 1 is Houston, Texas. So why don't we shut down these cartels? Why don't we secure our border? Stop going after American gun manufacturers. Stop trying to undermine the ability for us, the well-regulated militia, to be able to do what is necessary to provide for the security of the free state. I can't carry a police officer on my hip, but there's something else I can carry on my hip. But if you deny the ability of that thing to be manufactured, then what am I supposed to do? What ends up happening is that we devolve into a lawless society where the left continues to allow criminal, illegal immigrants into this country, terrorists into this country, release criminals back out onto the streets, but yet they want to sign up on a lawsuit that will take away your ability to defend yourself. The American gun manufacturer industry, the defendants of this case, released the following statement. Mexico's brazen attempt to regulate the American firearms industry based on its foreign interests poses a grave threat to the sovereignty of these United States of America, its citizens, and their Second Amendment rights. I firmly agree, and this is why the American Constitutional Rights Union will be filing our own amicus curiae, Friends of the Court brief, to support the gun manufacturing industry, which is the defendant in this case. But this is what I want you, American patriots, to do. Those of you watching this episode of Live Free TV, brought to you by the American Constitutional Rights Union, I want you to call your representatives. I don't care, Republican or Democrat. I want you to call your senators. I don't care, Republican or Democrat. Call your state house, state senators, governors, and you tell them, we do not want to have a foreign country suing an American manufacturer based upon their foreign interests. Mexico has a problem with their transnational narco-criminal cartels. It's not because of gun manufacturers here in America. It's because they're allowing them to exist. And they're allowing them to corrupt their government. And the Biden administration should not be siding with a foreign nation to undermine the constitutional rights of its own citizens. But that's what's happening. Ladies and gentlemen, there are so many challenges that we have here in the United States of America. But our founding fathers understood one thing. Without the Second Amendment, all of the other rights that you have collapse. But yet, that is what the progressive socialist left, many of the global elites, the Marxists, want to see happen. No despotic dictatorship has ever been successful unless they did one thing, in which they all did very first, was to disarm the population. The most recent example, Hugo Chavez in Venezuela. I've never seen a more unconstitutional thing, and that's saying a lot for this administration. This is Operation Fast and Furious continuing, and we should not have a presidential administration, a United States government that is aiding and abetting a foreign nation to disarm its own citizens. We'll see you next time on another episode of Live Free TV.